Hello and welcome to the Morning After Show. My name is Joshua Reimer. I'm joined by none other than Jared Block, who is on my right. This show is brought to you by betonline.ag, our sponsors that we are very happy to have be our sponsors. Jared, how are you doing? How was your Monday? And how was the start of your Tuesday?
It feels weird not having a Monday Night Football game. I'll say that. It's been, I think, we didn't have one in week 18, but we've had one every day or every Monday since the middle of August or so. So I didn't even know what to do with myself yesterday. So we're gonna get to that point here shortly. So might as well get used to it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. So I was kind of doing some stuff last night. I was hanging out with the girlfriend a little bit. We watched, I don't know if you've ever seen the show on Netflix, but Too Hot to Handle. It's her favorite show. And so we watch it with dinner. So we're watching that show, right? By the way, what's up to Bacon a little Italy in the chat. And we get done with dinner. We're kind of just hanging out, talking with each other. And I'm like, you know what? And I look at my schedule, look at a few things on Discord, and I'm like, I really have nothing to do right now. NBA ended pretty soon, or NBA ended pretty early that night. So I was like, I think I can actually go to bed like before 2 a.m. And that's what I did. I went to bed before 2 a.m. and it was incredible, dude. I feel more awake than I ever have. So it's going to be weird getting used to these Monday nights being a little bit slower.
Yeah, I don't know how you guys do that still to this day. I go to bed before, I don't know the last time I went to bed after midnight. So.
Yeah, you fell asleep with your phone in your hand, right? At the CP47. Yeah, that made me laugh.
I did. So I'm not. That's just who I am. I'm a morning guy. I was up this morning at like 6 o'clock because it's -2 degrees here right now. So it's gonna be a cold week, but yeah, we're all good here.
Yeah, well, it is -2 for you. Today, it is 35 degrees here with the high being 48. So I hope you enjoy your cold weather, sir. I'll enjoy my my decently cold weather, or at least cold for Nashville, I guess.
Yeah, I'm just counting down the days till I go to Florida at this point.
There you go, for sure. Bacon says, hear me out. Ryan Poles, strong finalist for Vikings GMs. He's close with Flores. Watson comes to Miami. Looks like Bacon's got the tinfoil hat on. A little bit of conspiracy theories to start out the show.
Hey, I mean, if you want Kirk Cousins gone, I think that's the way to do it.
That I don't know if it's a way to do it.
I don't know if it's 100%. I mean, maybe, I don't know. Like, we don't have Kirk Cousins on our agenda today, but what do you think? You think that they move on from him?
No, I don't think so. Not yet. I think they give him a chance under the new head coach without Zimmer there. But maybe they do bring Flores in, and maybe, at the end of the season, I wouldn't be surprised to see Watson sit all of 2023. That's or 2022, but that's a conversation for another day. Let's talk about what we have on the schedule, because it is a loaded schedule with an MLB update, which we're excited to get to because we haven't had an MLB update, though it's not the greatest news ever. A little bit of conference championship news. We got a lot of injury updates yesterday, so it's going to be interesting to talk about that. Good to talk about last night's NBA slate, and also the crazy crazy OT game that went on with Kansas and Texas Tech. Lots of exciting topics for today. So let's start talking about it. Let's get to this NBA recap first. Start off with the first game that kicked off tonight. The Bulls facing off against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And, I heard a lot of people saying throughout the day that -2.5 doesn't make much sense for the Bulls. Like, why are they only -2.5 against the Thunder? Why are they now only -1.5 after we get this news about DeRozan being out? And it seems like it didn't work out for those people that bet that money line or the spread there, because Bulls end up winning by 1 on a buzzer beater. Shai did everything in his power to get that win. Ended up going 30 and 10, 30 points, I think 10 rebounds or 10 assists. I'm not sure, but it was a big game for Shai, and a sad loss for the Thunder team.
Yep. Assists for Shea. So yeah, I'm looking at the and this is kind of relevant actually to this conversation. So you have two of the top teams against the spread in the league in Oklahoma City and Chicago. And Oklahoma City actually has or is tied for the best ATS record in the league, even though they
Yep.
are one of the worst teams in the league. So it's worth noting, just for betting purposes moving forward, Oklahoma City got to get on that bandwagon a little bit here.
Yep.
They're 29, 16, and 2, and their record obviously overall is the opposite of that. So they're pretty much tied with Cleveland at the top, and Chicago 26 and 19 against the spread, covering 57% of the time. It's crazy that there's still 4 teams in the league that are covering at a 60% clip or above. Do you want to take a guess at the other two? Because I
Oh,
already gave
I
you 2 of them.
I have no clue who they would be. I'll take random guesses though. Give me the Cavs and give me the. I have no clue. Who else is here?
Okay, well, Cavs are tied with the Thunder. There's 2 more after that.
I have no clue. Zero idea. Give it to me.
Yeah, Grizzlies are third,
Oh, okay.
covering 63% of the time, and the Hornets are the 4th team, 61% of the time.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you kind of assume it's teams that have overperformed to where people expected them to, and that's definitely what you say with both of those teams, with the Grizzlies and the Hornets. They have overperformed compared to where people were comparing them to. So, very interesting there. This Bulls team, is this concerning to you at all that they had 2 out of their 3 superstars and still were only able to win by 1 against the Oklahoma City Thunder, even if they were away from home?
I think this Bulls team is just going through things right now, and
Yeah.
I mean, every single team's kind of going through some stretch of some sort. We saw the Warriors kind of get out of theirs late last week, but the Bulls, they faced the Bucks, they faced the Cavs, the Magic, and now the Thunder. It's just um, I don't know. I mean, things are going to balance out for them. They have a pretty favorable schedule now. Kind of like it's a pretty decent shot for them to still recover as their team decides or just starts to get healthier. But they do play the Raptors, Spurs, Blazers, Magic, and Raptors again. Also the Pacers before the break. So a little bit of an easier stretch right before the All-Star break here.
Yeah, definitely an easier stretch before the All Star break. Let's talk about this next game, because I don't know if you've seen me doing this recently, but I've kind of been looking a little bit more at the betting side. It's actually there's a funny reasoning for this. So move to Tennessee, right? We have all the betting cleared here. I can bet with MGM Sportsbook. I can bet with whoever I want. I usually bet with Bet Online, but Bet Online kind of funky on the phone. I don't like going to the web browser, and I've been using FanDuel Sportsbook a little bit. They finally verified me after like a year of waiting for this. So finally verified me, and I was super excited for that. Placed my bet. I've been placing big bets, placing hammers on Bet Online and on FanDuel, and I did it with this Cavs game. I bet the under here. Told all the members about it. Told them to go look it up on Bet Online, and it was a smash under. It was like the under of 203, and it's always terrible to bet unders, but it worked out perfectly here in this game.
It did. Yeah, 188 points scored. I mean, this game basically is like a early 2000s type of matchup between
Yeah,
these two teams. So I'm not surprised one bit. And I
no,
think that's awesome.
yeah, definitely. In this game, we had the Cavs end up winning against the Knicks. We saw Garland, Mobley really pick things up without Jared Allen there. Kevin Love, also someone who came off the bench and really helped out this team get a win. Where are we at with this Cavs team? Is this a top half of the playoffs, a bottom half of the playoffs, a team that could actually be a contender to get into that second round? Like, where do you hold this Cavs team? Because honestly, if I'm thinking about it, they feel very similar to what the Atlanta Hawks were last year.
Sure. I mean, they went down with injury to both Sexton and Rubio, so that's going to hurt them long term. But I think that you'll start to see Rondo play in the playoffs, and not really during during the regular season here. But they are 8-2 in their last 10. I would worry a little bit if they had smaller matchups, and I guess teams that you'd have to be worried about in that instance might. I don't know. I mean, like, who are you most scared about? Because I think most of the teams that are competitors in the East run big, so they'd actually kind of be in those scenarios and in those series.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a team that would match up
Yeah.
well with them. And I'm not
Yeah.
sure if I have anyone that would match up well with them when it comes to the fact that they run Mobley, they run um they run Allen, and they also run Lloyd Markin at small forward, which I still don't understand, but somehow works out whenever he's healthy.
Right. Like, my whole thing is that there's not very many teams that are in the top 5 seeds that are small.
Yeah.
So most of them actually are like almost all of them run big. Even the Sixers are in that category too at the 6th seed. When you get into the Hornets, and I guess I would consider Raptors in that scenario as well. That I don't know. There's not too many teams that they match up terribly against, but yeah, I mean, they could be a first round upset team. They could easily do something there.
Yeah.
Um, I was just curious because we talked about that under, and I looked to go ahead and see what the actual under trends are this year, and both Cleveland and New York are in the top 6 on unders, which
Does it
makes
really
a lot of
surprise you?
sense.
Yeah, does it?
No,
I mean,
not at all.
these are two teams that are bottom of the league in pace and top of the league in defense. Like, that is not surprising to me whatsoever that both of these teams end up hitting their unders quite a bit.
You know, it's actually staggering though. This is something we should look at moving forward. The Dallas Mavericks have an under percentage of 71%.
Yeah, no, I've seen this before because they're kind of in that same mo as the Cavs, where they have a really slow pace right now. I think their pace is the bottom of the league, and their defense is top of the league. So whenever you see that type of team going up against another type of team that has the same type of mo with this Cavs and Knicks game, like, it's pretty obvious that the under's going to hit, no matter how low BetOnline puts that number at.
All right, guys, here we go. We found something for today.
Oh, here we go. Let me see it. Let me hear it.
Yep,
Give it
we
to
can
me.
actually bet on an NBA game. All right, here we
Oh
go. Here we
shit.
go. The top 2 teams on the under category: Golden State 64%, Dallas 71%. They play tonight. The total is 212. Hit the under.
Slam the under, baby. What do
Yeah.
you need to hammer this. This is an amazing under. I love this. I know Golden State runs it a little bit fast, but considering the fact that Mavericks run it slow, this is gonna be a good game. This is gonna be a lot of fun. So I like it. Under 212 over at Bet Online. It might be time to get out the smash hammer and start banging that thing.
Yep.
All
I
right.
am posting it in the chat now if you missed it.
Let's go.
There it
There you
is.
perfect. All right. Let's keep going. Let's talk about the Pelicans and the Pacers. They ended up facing off. Pelicans get a win here, and they end up edging a little bit closer to their play-in game. They are currently the 11 seed. They're around 4 games back now from the Clippers, but there's no better team to be behind than the Clippers right now, right? If you're considering a play-in scenario.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the Clippers whatsoever. I think that ship is sinking fast, and they have a lot of things to worry about, especially with that announcement that we had last week of Paul George being out indefinitely. So they are hurting bad.
Yeah, they are definitely hurting bad, and it's going to be interesting to see if they can finish out strong whenever PG is supposed to get back. Maybe Kawhi gets back till the end of the year, but it looks like it's going to be tough for that team to end up getting there. Um, All right, let's keep talking through the games that happened last night. Move on to this next game where the Suns won their 7 straight. They end up continuing to make that gap of their 1 seed bigger and bigger against the Warriors. Injured Jazz were still able to remain in it most of the game, though. I think a lot of people were surprised because they ruled out Bogey, they ruled out Joe Ingles, they ruled out Royce O'Neal as well, and still were able to stay in it with thanks to a few different players, including Jordan Clarkson. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts in this game. How good is this Suns team, or is this just the fact that the Jazz were really injured?
I still think the Suns are great, and they're
Yeah,
actually going through it right now too. They've had a center rotation that, like, I don't know, this is really not good for Deandre Ayton's long-term contract that he was supposed to kind of work out this past offseason. So he hasn't played like hardly at all this entire year, and they've had to rely on guys like Bismack Biyombo, who went off last night, did very well, and uh, when you're relying on 18 minutes from JaVale McGee, it's never really a good thing in the regular season.
yeah,
Playoffs is one thing, regular season's another thing. But their studs showed up, and they always, for the Suns are an interesting team where the studs should show up, and if DeAndre Ayton's healthy, I would expect him to get a double double as well on a nightly basis. And then you have these rotational guys that can step up, and a lot of them, you know, are very, very thin DFS plays because they're just so deep in that respect. But guys like Cam Johnson can go off. Mikal Bridges can do things on a nightly basis. And then you have Shamet. Jay Crowder, I know, who didn't play last night, is also in that mix too. So yeah, I mean they're a deep team and they should be able to make another deep run this year, barring injury slash matchups, because I do feel like, I mean, give them credit last year. They had probably one of the toughest routes to get to the finals for a 1 seed.
yeah. They
Or
definitely
what
had.
were they? They were a 1 seed. Yeah, they were.
Yeah, they were. No, they were a 2 seed last year because they faced the
Oh, yeah,
Lakers,
that's
who
right.
were
They
a
faced the
seven
Lakers.
seed.
Yeah.
How for sure do you feel like it is that they keep a hold on this 1 seed here? Because they're currently 3.5 games ahead of the Warriors. They are pretty far ahead of the guys in the 3rd seed, the 4th seed. I mean, they're 6.5 in front of the Grizz, 8 games ahead of the Jazz. I think the Jazz don't have much of a chance there, but like it's mostly the Warriors that are threatening this 1 seed. How likely do you think it is that they hold on?
I think they hold on. I mean,
Yep.
they have a 7 game winning streak, and we're in January, which is impressive. So I don't think any team hits that historical win loss record mark this year. I think that both the Suns and Warriors probably finished the year with 20 plus losses. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that the Suns do edge out the Warriors with that 1 seed because I think that first of all, Golden State's dealing with some stuff, but I do expect both of these teams to load up about here in a month, and I would think that the Suns are probably the team that's going to end up being a little bit deeper in the regular season.
Yeah, it should be interesting. Guy like Paul Millsap, who is on the Nets right now, is going to get bought out. They've already announced that.
Yep.
Feels like they could help an interior that's been really struggling. So no, Bismack is doing some things. Let's touch back on this DeAndre Ayton issue too, because he hasn't got that extension yet, right? Like he hasn't
Nope.
been extended. Like if
Yep.
you're looking
His
at this
agent
as
said
this,
no. His agent said he wanted some, I forgot, some like a big like Trey Young money, I think was what the conversation.
that's a lot of money, man.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're looking at this as the Suns, you're looking and seeing that you have a winning squad. You've had a winning squad with a without DeAndre Ayton for most of the season. You're having your head coach in Monty Williams saying that Bismack has really been amazing with Chris Paul, and Chris Paul excuse me, really amplifies all of Bismack's qualities. Why wouldn't you stick with a guy like Bismack, who you could sign for 2 years and 24 million, instead of giving Ayton this mega deal that would kind of lock you down for a while?
It's a great point. I mean, I
Yep.
think that DeAndre Ayton is fantastic for this team. I mean, they also are down Kaminsky and another big man, right? Like, I think that they're down quite a few guys. So they're down Saric. That's why
Yeah.
we haven't heard his name in a long time either.
Yeah.
So I think that they'll figure it out. I wouldn't be surprised if Biombo had a huge playoff um, push for this team. Wouldn't be surprised at all.
Nope. Neither would I. Definitely interesting and definitely something to look out for. All right. Anything else in this game or anything else from last night's slate? If not, we have some things to talk about with LeBron and some temperature gauge to go over.
No, let's keep going.
Yeah, let's talk about LeBron. He dismisses any worry about workload slash scoring after the weekend loss to the Heat. Uh, I don't think that was a bad L to the Heat. The Heat are a very good team. They're currently number one in the East, right, or close to being number one in the East. So that's not a bad
They are.
loss, especially with how tough you fought at the end of that game. I don't think it's a bad loss, but like we talked about it, Frank Vogel is very much right now on a game by game analysis type of standpoint. And tonight they face off against the Nets, which should be an absolutely incredible matchup. But if you see Frank Vogel get blown out by a lot, like what do you do? Like how does that make you feel about LeBron and his chances for the playoffs?
Yeah, so the whole context of this him not being worried workload thing comes literally in the post game presser, and he looked as cool as ever. He said that he's been, as far as like an offensive standpoint, he feels that this team, or like is the last 2 seasons or so, I think the actual quote was that he's in the best offensive system that he's been in his career. And I don't know if that's true or not, but if he believes it, then he believes it.
Yeah.
And he also was saying that everything's been feeling really good shot wise for him. He's feeling great body wise, mentally as well. And he said that he's not worried about being relied upon to score 30, 35 a night. And the whole thing about the workload was that, like, the question was like, are you worried you're going to have to play 35 to 40 minutes every night and score a triple double basically to get into the playoffs? And he basically just dismissed it and said that he's been doing it since he was 18 years old, carrying franchises, that is. So, I
Yep.
mean, he's not wrong. So,
No.
the problem with this take is that they have a very rough stretch here coming up.
Yeah, before
They
the All
do,
Star break, it is really
yeah.
tough.
It's Nets, Sixers, Hornets. You have the Hawks and Blazers in here, but you do have to face the Clippers, Knicks, Bucks, Blazers, Warriors, Jazz before the All-Star break. So, not the greatest, but again, at the end of the season, I believe is when things loosen up just a little bit. So
Yep.
maybe they will make it their way in. And I guess what would you be happy with at this point, seating wise?
If we got to the 4 seed, I would be effing ecstatic if we got to that
Yeah,
spot. If we're in the top half of the league, I am just absolutely pumped up and actually feel really confident about us getting back to the finals. To get there right now, they would have to make up 6.5 games, which I'm not going to say is impossible because it's certainly not, but it's definitely going to take a lot of work. What's really going to help this team is Anthony Davis being back, and hopefully a
yep.
reinvigorated, rejuvenated Anthony Davis. At least that's what I'm hoping for, because we know throughout the first half of the season he looked awful. So maybe him getting that time off of injury re-sparked that love for basketball a little bit with him not being on the floor, and maybe he's ready to come back better than ever.
Did Kendrick Nunn have a delay?
I think so. I think he had a setback at some point, and that's why we're kind of waiting on things from him.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured too. I would hate to have him go somewhere else, even though I don't know. I think he's a huge piece to your team because
Yeah.
he I think he would mask Westbrook a little bit. Not that he would take time away. I just feel like you got a different guy to bring the ball up, or at least put the ball in somebody else's hands besides him.
Yeah, I think Nunn is a really strong piece that we just haven't got a chance to see, and it really helps our bench overall, which is the most important thing right now. So, and you're right, it would mask the Westbrook situation kind of. So, I I hope they don't trade Kendrick Nunn before he gets a chance to step on the floor. And I would say the same thing goes for THT. I hope they don't trade THT. I think our team's really well put together. It's just when we've been dealing with injuries, it's kind of been a slow start, but I think once you see this team come together, it is pretty solid. All right, we have 6 minutes for temperature gauge. That way, so we have half the show left to talk about everything else. So let's kick it off with this temperature gauge section.
Yeah, we'll do one team per conference like we normally do every Tuesday. The one thing I will say before moving on is that this Lakers Nets game does highlight things tonight, and we will be putting out some sort of prop side total. Not sure what it is yet on today's podcast. Sean is working on his free bet of the day, which is going to be circled around this game. So keep an eye out for that, and we'll circle back on it around podcast time. As far as the gauge goes for the Western Conference, let's take a look. 'Cause I actually did not have a team picked out, and I actually, you know what? Let's do this. Kind of a contrarian option. The Pelicans are 5-5 in their last 10, and they just beat, I know, the Pacers, but Ingram was out, and they still managed to win that game. They're sneaking up in the play-in section, and I know it's hard to get there, and they still only have
Yeah.
18 wins. So if you're the Pelicans and you're sniffing this, and you don't have Zion coming back, well, I don't think he comes back this season, but that's just me. What are you doing here? Because I feel like they should just sell off, but there's still a chance they could be a play-in team.
Yeah, there really is a chance, especially if you can see Nickeil Alexander-Walker used a little bit more. We saw him used
Yep.
last night, and he really was phenomenal in every minute that he was in. So, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, getting Brandon Ingram back, even if you can get Zion Williamson for the last quarter of the season, I feel like it's a huge bump to this team overall. It's just a wait and see situation, and it kind of sucks that you have to wait on Zion this whole year, but getting Zion back would be huge. So I think this Pelicans team is solid for a temperature gauge, 1 out of 10. 10 being I feel extremely confident, 1 being I don't feel that confident whatsoever. I'd give him a solid 4.
Okay, that's higher than I thought it was going to be. So
That's
cool.
higher than it was like a month ago. So like I mean like it's not bad progression. Sooner or later this Pelicans team might get good. It's just the hope of Zion Williamson getting healthy.
Agreed. He's basically him and Ingram are basically the investment pieces. So
Yeah.
um, okay, on the Eastern Conference side of things, you have the Washington Wizards, who are 23-24. They've been sliding down ever since the middle of November
Uh-huh.
at the start of the year.
Yeah.
They're 4-6 in their last 10 games. Man, I feel this is just I feel bad for Bradley Beal's statement because they've lost 3 in a row, and they don't have any easy schedule coming up anytime soon.
No, you just saw him lost to the Celtics, a pretty blowout loss to the Celtics, 116-87. Gosh, they lost that game to the Nets with the whole situation of the head coach reaching in and blocking Kuzma's wide open 3-point shot in the corner. Like it's been a
Amazing.
bad you say amazing, I say that's kind of iffy. It's been a really bad run for this Wizards team. So I think this is lower than the Pelicans. I'd give this team like a 3. It just
Do you
this
want me to let me give you the schedule before you put the 3 out there because I think it's
Okay,
actually
okay.
worse.
Okay, go ahead. Go for it.
Yeah, they host the Clippers tonight. Then they
Uh-huh.
go on a road trip to Memphis to take on the Grizzlies. Then they go to Milwaukee to take on the Bucks. Then they go to the Philly to take on the Sixers. Then they host the Phoenix Suns, and then they host the Miami Heat and the Brooklyn Nets in the next 6 games.
Give me a 2. Never mind. Bump them down a notch after that stretch. Man, that is tough. The Grizzlies, the Bucks, the 76ers, the Suns, the Heat, all of those teams are in the top 4 of their respective conference standings. And that's a rough stretch. I mean, they've already lost 3 straight, and maybe they get a win tonight against the Clippers. But if they don't get a win tonight against the Clippers, you could very well see this team go on like a 9-game losing stretch.
I would have to agree with you. So,
Yeah.
yeah, not great. I was trying to pick a team that wasn't the Knicks or the Celtics, so this fits the bill pretty nicely.
Yeah, I feel like we talk about the Knicks and Celtics. Knicks Celtics on the Western or the Eastern Conference side, and the Western Conference side, we always talk about the Clippers and Trailblazers.
Yep.
I think the funniest comment in the chat comes from Goosty saying, "If McCollum can come back from a collapsed lung within months, Zion better be able to make a comeback." And
Well,
that's tough, man. That's a great point, but really tough to say out loud. All right, let's talk about conference championship news because we have a lot of NFL news to get through. Let's run through some of it though. Quan Williams uncertain for Sunday for the Niners. Debo sore because he got hit with the helmet, according to Shanahan, but should be on track to go. I'll also bring up another piece of news because I don't see it listed in here, but we do have to talk about it. Who is it? Who's our left tackle? Jared, who's the Niners left tackle? Why am I blanking on a name here?
Trent Williams.
Trent Williams uncertain for Sunday as well, based on his sore ankle. So last time the Niners faced off against the Rams, they didn't have Trent Williams. Could be again that they don't have Trent Williams. And I know what you're laughing at. You're not allowed to bring it up on stream. We got to move on from NBA, or else we're not going to get done with the show.
Oh man, that's good. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah. So what do you think about the Niners' chances if they are without a guy like Trent Williams, are without a guy like Quan Williams to help with that secondary? We talk about the healthy team being the better team, and it seems like maybe the Niners are losing a little bit of that health.
I'd be more concerned about Trent Williams not being able to go than Quan Williams. I'm more concerned about the pass rush for the Niners. So,
yeah,
or for the Rams. I mean, sorry. They looked good last week, and I know that the Bucs were missing Wirfs, and they have had some issues at center. I just feel like because you're not worried about weather. You've seen this team twice already. How many times did Williams play against the Rams this year?
Just the first time. The second time he did not.
Okay. I mean, the first game was a wash. It was a complete blowout. So
yeah,
I would expect this game to be a little bit closer, actually, like the closest. So I don't know. It feels like a very, very tough rematch the second time around, just like we saw in week 17, week 18.
18.
So 18. And yeah, I mean, it's a big blow, but I think that the bigger blow would be Trent Williams being out.
I would tend to agree. I hope Trent Williams is there. That just makes me feel more confident, especially knowing that we won that Week 18 without that Week 18 game without Trent Williams, and having Trent Williams, that's an important part of that offense. He is an animal. He gets called for a lot of holding calls, but he is the best left tackle in the league. I think bar none, in my honest opinion. Talk about how smart the Niners were for getting him on the team with that trade from the Washington. It's the Washington football team now, Washington Redskins at that time. That was an incredible trade for this team to have with Trent Williams.
Yeah, it really was, and that's just another. Washington fans can look back and say that we had the perfect squad.
Yeah,
because they played that dumb graphic thing about the head coaches that were all in the playoffs still so many times last weekend. I couldn't get over how I laughed every single time.
Yeah.
Because having all those guys on the same team and then they all go on and they're all in the playoffs and Washington's they got a lot of stuff to figure out. So
I'd be so depressed if I was a Washington fan seeing that all weekend.
I know it was controversial at the time, but you traded away your best player for nothing.
Yeah. Well, I know Trent Williams really didn't want to play, but he was willing to talk to management at that time and they just weren't willing to move on with him. So it truly was for nothing, though. It was like a third-round pick or something, and I remember being ecstatic when we pulled that trade off, just thinking this is the best possible trade that we could have gotten out of this. And it would be nice to have him on Sunday for sure. The Rams, on the other hand, are expected to get some guys back. Andrew Whitworth is expected to be back and be at the left tackle spot. Also, we are expecting Taylor Rapp to be back. Finally, they don't have to play Eric Weddle and deal with his dumb mistakes that he made, including the dumb mistake that he made with that unsportsmanlike conduct at the end of that fourth down on Sunday.
Yeah, I think that he probably was chirping with Mike Evans most of the day, and he got him pretty good. I'm surprised that they didn't give him more of a penalty for that.
Seriously,
because I mean that was pretty. I know that the NFL is not as into this, but if that was a college game, he's out. That's targeting.
Oh yeah, for sure. You definitely would have seen a targeting call, especially we had a lot less called for targeting in college football this season. So I'm sure they're happy that they don't have to deal with him anymore at that safety position. Let's move on to the other game. Let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs and the Bengals playing against each other. Bengals don't have much news, not much to touch on, but Kansas City did announce yesterday that they are cutting Josh Gordon. Does this finally bring an end to the Josh Gordon era where we don't have to hear his name anymore?
I think he'll still be around somewhere.
It's just awful. Just awful.
They did this specifically to gain a player on defense. So they felt like, and for what it's worth, I mean, I know Hill and Kelsey, it's smash games, but you also finally saw Mecole Hardman step up, and Byron Pringle did well as well. He scored a touchdown. So I don't think they necessarily need Josh Gordon. It was kind of a nice little piece that they had, but he didn't play more than like 50 snaps all season. And I think that he just needs to earn his ranks in the NFL again. I think
Yeah.
that's, I mean, unless you're a team that desperately needs him as it's unfortunate that it's gotten to the point where he would be a piece that a team would be willing to throw out in the offense just for notoriety, right? And I
Yeah.
don't think the Chiefs are in a position to do that because they don't have to be. Uh, by the way, did you see there's a video that is going around the internet about this dude after the KC game in the stadium? He sprints up to the suite where Travis Kelce's parents are, and there's no glass. It's just like, or there's like a space in between where the glass isn't, and he literally like shakes and hugs Travis Kelce's mom and says, "Thank you for birthing your son."
No, I did not see that. That is absolutely legendary. That is awesome. Man, that is super cool. Kind of weird, but super cool. Let's continue to talk about everything we have for this conference championship news. This is an interesting little tidbit about what happened on Sunday's divisional matchup between the Bills and the Chiefs. Featured the second highest scoring total within the final 2 minutes of the fourth quarter. There's 25 points scored. And it's the first time in NFL history to have two QBs or both QBs from the game throw for at least 300 passing yards. Each one has 3 TDs. There are no picks thrown between both of them, and each one has over 50 rushing yards. I mean, truly a masterclass to put on between Josh Allen and between Mahomes. And you look at the QB situation for the AFC and then look at it for the NFC. I mean, the AFC is so well set up. You have Burrow, you have Allen,
Yep.
you have Mahomes, you have Jackson, you have Herbert. You have an amazing young squad. And who do you have to show in the in the NFC? Jalen Hurts? Like, is that all you have? Like, everyone else is kind of getting aged out. You have Aaron Rodgers possibly moving on. You have Brady possibly moving on. You could see a high disparity between the AFC and NFC when it comes to quarterback play in the next year and possibly even next year.
Yep. See, here's my thing with this. This is why the Giants are idiots for taking Daniel Jones at number 5.
Yeah.
Um, and you have like Jalen Hurts. I think he's going to be great, but name anybody else. Like, imagine. So if I'm Deshaun Watson, I'm not playing in the AFC if I try to go to a team. It's not
Yeah.
happening.
That's a good point.
And now you're one of these rookie players, and you're like, say you're Kenny Pickett, and there's all these talks about Pittsburgh. You're like, I don't want to go to Pittsburgh. Like, why
No.
would I want to go there? Um, that's already going to be a tough division anyway. And so, yes, the only guy in the NFC that I can think of that's still young enough to make the case that he fits in the mold with all those AFC guys is Jalen Hurts. And I guess you can include Justin Fields too.
Yeah.
I think that he's in that conversation. But if you're Tua, like, man, you're down bad right now.
So this is what I was thinking of. I was like, is Tua in this conversation? And I guess really not. He's not even
Well,
close to the level of QB play that these five guys are playing at. And
okay.
he's not even close to Hurts at the end of the day, right? Like,
I mean, it's just statistically, he did have one of the best QBRs in the league, but it didn't translate to winning.
and at the end of the day, like we talked about yesterday, winning is everything. Winning is the stat that, and I mean, we say winning is everything. Jalen Hurts didn't. Well, Jalen Hurts made the playoffs at the very least. So I don't know. It's NFC is super interesting, and maybe a guy like Trey Lance is able to redeem them a little bit. I know you're down on the Trey Lance train, but I gotta keep my hopes up about Trey Lance and hope that he's good to go. Um, I don't know, man. Like you're 100% right in saying that the QBs in the AFC could completely outclass NFC QBs and outclass them for the next 10 years. I know you have in this write up 5 years. Give me the next 10 years because while we have already talked about Josh Allen and Mahomes being the new Brady and Rodgers, or not Brady and Rodgers, sorry, Brady and Peyton. I think you could very well say that Burrow and Herbert could be the next Brady and Peyton as well. So, like, it's just you have so many good QBs, and Lamar kind of gets left out of the mix, but Lamar is just as amazing as the rest of these guys. So I don't know. This is it's definitely concerning if you're looking at it from an NFC side.
I commented on a FanDuel post on Instagram this morning that had the 4 guys that we mentioned. Um, that's in that segment right there outside, and then Mahomes was left out of the list because apparently I guess they have him above everybody else.
Yeah.
which actually I would kind of disagree. I think Allen's over Mahomes, but he hasn't won, so I can't really say that. So,
Yeah.
um, how would you rank? Take Mahomes out of the list. How do you rank Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert? Because I'll my answer's already out there, and I'm not changing it.
I'm very curious to see what your answer is. I haven't seen this post, but I rank Allen number one. I rank Burrow number two. I rank Lamar number three, and I rank Herbert number four.
Yeah, mine's very similar, but I'm switched in one spot or one big spot. Um, maybe it's bias, I don't know, but I have Allen number one, I have Herbert number two, and
Wow.
Burrow three, Jackson four.
Okay. I don't know. I understand the Herbert love for sure. Um, Yeah, I just guess him not making the playoffs this year really disappointed me. And I know Lamar
Sure,
didn't either, but Lamar has made the playoffs before, and Lamar also that Ravens team would have made the playoffs if they didn't deal with all the injuries they dealt with. So
I
uh
agree, but
that's
that
kind
doesn't
of
mean that the Bengals might have not won either.
yeah, no, you're 100% right. I mean, like, yeah, no, you are right. Goosty's pretty upset with us for having Burrow over Lamar. Sorry, man. That's the way it is when Burrow is in an AFC Championship in his second year as a QB. At the end of the day, again, for these quarterbacks, I consider winning over everything, and I've seen Burrow win more than any of these guys outside of Allen. Actually, he's even won more than Allen technically.
Didn't they make the AFC Championship last year?
Yeah, you're right. But Burrow hasn't had as much. Was that Allen's second year? I don't know. It's all getting mixed
I
up in
don't
my
think
head
so.
now. I have no clue. Anyway, all right. Little Italy said, and Harbaugh's dumbass decisions as well led Lamar to
Oh,
not win.
dude. Well, yeah, Willie Snead. Sorry, dude. I remember that. I still remember
Yeah.
that. Hit him right in the shoulder pad.
Yep. I remember that as well. All right. Anything else for the NFL? If not, we have MLB updates to get to.
No, let's continue going. We have a lot of playoff stuff to talk about over the next couple of days.
Yes, we certainly do, and it's going to be a lot of fun to talk about that stuff. But let's get to this MLB update. Start talking about what we have today. Later today, we're going to get the announcement of who is going to make it and who isn't going to make it into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Guys like Bonds and Clemens on that list of guys who could potentially make it. But I think the resounding news that I have coming into me is saying that Bonds and Clemens probably not making it this go around and probably not making it at all. But I was
Yeah.
listening to Jan Patrick again this morning, and he made a very interesting case. It's like he was like, I'm tired of policing the MLB. Like at some point, we've got to stop policing these Hall of Entry candidates because at the end
Yep.
of the day, not letting Bonds and Clemens get in takes away from the guys who do end up getting in because instead of celebrating those guys that are getting in, we're all about, oh, Bonds and Clemens didn't make it, they did this and that, they, half of the media is saying they deserve it, half of the media is saying they don't. I'm tired of it, man. Like let's just stop, let's cut it out, let's stop policing this for once and for all.
Well, I mean, for me, I just feel like there's so much bias in the Hall of Fame, and people just I don't know. There are guys that have done the same exact thing as Bonds that are in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I think that you can put Sammy Sosa in that category too.
Yes,
So
definitely.
I mean, right now it doesn't look like they're going to get in. It looks like they're going to have a little bit of a higher percentage of voting this year than they did last year. But this has not gone to the public yet. And once that does, it doesn't seem like they're getting in. For those who know, or for those who don't know, uh, you have to get what above 75% of the votes.
Yep.
Yep. And they are hovering this year around 73 to 71%. Bonds being 73. So it doesn't seem like they're going to make it, which I think is a crime. So I don't know. I mean, say what you want about the performance enhancement stuff because we go through this every single decade, and there are, like I said, countless players that are in that exact category. And who knows? I mean, the guy that people are talking about this year as well is David Ortiz, and we don't really know if he ever like everybody loves Poppy, so I'm not going to talk shit, but we don't know if any of those guys
Yeah.
ever didn't use performance enhancements during that period of time. I feel like almost the entire league did in the early 2000s, and then they finally cracked down on it. So you're going to see a lot of guys left out that shouldn't be, and I think that Bonds is one of them. And you can arguably say that, like, first of all, it makes no sense that if you have a record, you probably need to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is, like, I know that the rule or the quotes or whatever is like, actually I need to find the exact quote because there's a plaque on the Hall of Fame that states something about that Jeff Passan just tweeted about this morning. It said the National Baseball Hall of Fame Museum's mission is to preserve history, which is what we seek to do throughout the museum. And then it says the first paragraph talks about how players are in the hall for their accomplishments in the
Yep.
game.
Dan
And
Patrick talked
that's the
about this
big
this
thing.
morning.
And it's also like he was the most electric guy in the mid 2000s.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I mean, you can
That
really
stuff's huge.
credit Bonds with like baseball. I'm not going to say staying around because baseball's always going to be that third sport right behind NBA and NFL. But like without Bonds hitting all those home runs for many of those years, is the MLB where it's at now? Like, are we? Do you? I guess the question is like, is hockey considered like the number three sport if you don't have that excitement behind Barry Bonds? Because I think you could make a real case that there's some sport that overtakes MLB if you don't have that excitement.
Well, sure, it's influencing the younger generation to play, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
if you don't have those players in the game, if you don't have the Ronald Acuñas, the Tatises of the league, that's what Bonds was at that time. So even
100%.
a greater than I think this is going to be probably controversial. Let me make sure that I say it correctly. It's like I think he was either more hated or more liked than Mike Trout on both spectrums. And I'm
Yeah,
not going to say more talented, but he definitely like people care about Trout, but they don't. It's kind of weird.
yeah.
So I think he was the face of the league at that time, and if you don't have that, or if you don't recognize that, it just taints the league in general.
Yeah, and Hockey Fan makes a great point. Just like the battle between Sosa and McGuire when they were both on the Athletics, it the Bash Brothers whole thing like that drove baseball for a while there. Like that really helped the game's overall excitement and the game's overall image. And I I don't know, man. Like at the like Dan Patrick said, I just don't know if we should be policing this. We're not in a spot to police this. And at the end of the day, if you're criticizing Bonds and Clemens for this, you got to criticize everyone, and we just don't have the tools to do that. We don't have the ability to criticize every single person who used steroids because MLB said it was only 5% of baseball players. I feel like the majority of fans
Not a
know it
chance.
was half of the league that was using steroids at
Yeah,
that point, if not more people. So I don't know. It's a really, really tough spot, but it's going to be interesting to see what we get later today. I have a feeling it's going to be bad news, and I have a feeling that I'm
I
going to be
agree.
pretty disappointed with it. So it is what it is. Talk about another thing that we're disappointed with. MLB and MLBPA meet for the first time face to face on Monday, said that there was a little bit of progress, but the MLB came out yesterday and said that they are willing to lose games if they do not get the CBA that they want. So we're coming into this spot where we kind of everyone who pays attention to baseball saw the writing on the wall and kind of realized, hey, this could be definitely happening where we could miss a few games. We're getting to that point where teams need a report very soon, and now we kind of get confirmation from the MLB that hey, we're fine with missing games. And I don't know how you feel about this. I saw something on TikTok where it was like he was saying that the MLB was in big trouble if they miss games. I'm not sure if they're in big trouble, but the longer this goes on, the more concerning it is.
I don't think that they should be concerned because at the end of the day, it's a long season anyway, and they'll still play like 130 games probably at the minimum.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think it goes longer than a month, but I mean, right now, at least from this ESPN article, that's basically has the top information on it. They say that they're at a solid 4 out of 10. If they want to start spring training in mid-February, they need to be done with the deal by the end of the first week of February at the latest, which is 2 weeks from next Monday.
so we have
Or
some
sorry,
time.
a week from yesterday.
We have some time. Hopefully, we get the job done. It's going to be interesting, kind of See if we can, because I want baseball, man. I want baseball on time, and I just want to kick ass with baseball and take names this year. So I'm going to be interested to kind of wait and see what exactly is going to happen in that regard. Let's talk about some other things that happened with the MLB. They turned down Tampa's idea for a sister city. There was potential that they could play half of their home games in Tampa, half of their home games in Montreal, but the MLB said a resounding no to this. And kind
Yeah.
of surprising, too, honestly. I think this would have been a good move.
I mean, this just sounds like the MLB being dumb.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
right. Seriously,
the
like it sounds
Rays,
like.
like the
Go
Rays
ahead.
have been good. The Rays have been good the last couple of years,
Yeah,
and they've been in playoff contention, and even did very well a couple of years ago. But the Rays owner sees the writing on the wall. It's just not a baseball city, and it hasn't been since they even changed their name from the Devil Rays. So like this would be an exciting push because I think Montreal still wants baseball.
yeah,
And I think that at the end of the day, you're just shutting down an opportunity. It would have been weird, and it would have been possibly stressful on the team itself. But I mean, have you seen, like, I know that you have, but if you guys haven't seen what Rays games look like, you would have
abysmal,
no idea what the record is.
abysmal, dude. Like it is insane the fact that they can be such a solid squad overall, be such a great team, and even starting to finally develop that um those superstar names too. I know that was kind of a problem at one point. Like there was no real superstar on the team, but you're finally getting the Randy Rosarinas, the Wander Francos, and all these guys who can be next level. And you're still not able to get a crowd. Like it's mind blowing. So I think this would have been a smart move. I almost feel like at the end of the day, this is kind of a thing where it's like, look, we already have our attention on the CBA. We can't really put our attention in many other places right now. So the hard work kind of gets inverted, but it just would have been a great move overall, I feel like.
It would have made things a little bit interesting logistically, but I still think it would bring, and like the thing that baseball's missing, and the reason why they're failing is because they are not making these kinds of decisions. So it
Yeah.
might feel like a home run, or sorry, not a home run, a long shot to some executives, but if you want the sport to survive, you got to take shots. And I think that would have been a cool one to take.
Would have been a very cool one to take. Would have been a lot of fun to watch how it played out. Maybe we see someone else propose this. I think it's a grand idea. I think it's smart. I hope other teams come to the league with this proposal and we see it play out somewhere. But who knows? Maybe a sister city in London or something would be cool. I mean, I know everyone kind of gets up for that London game of the year. Maybe we see something like that. Who knows? Let's talk about why Angel Hernandez is shaking in his boots this morning, though. Robot umps have been announced for AAA teams, and we are expecting 11 clubs to have automatic strike zones. Uh, Angel Hernandez, I can't think of any bad other bad umps off the top of my head, but there's you got to imagine some umps are like, geez, they're kicking us out pretty soon.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not taking all of the home, like the home plate guy would be gone, but not everybody else would be, I guess. So it's weird. I think it's the best thing for the sport, and
Yeah,
I think that if you can take the human bias out of the game, it just makes a lot of sense. So I don't know. We see controversial calls, multiple calls, every single year in every single series, and like my one of my favorite things to do is look at the recap videos on Twitter of all the missed calls made in the strike zone. So if those are corrected even by half, I think that you'll see a lot of success. And this could even be really, like, pitchers should be excited about this.
yeah. No, seriously, they should be. There's this Twitter account called Ump Report Card. I think it's called Ump Report Card. Something like that, where it gives each at the end of every game, it gives the umpire a report card saying how well they did, where they missed their strike calls, what percentage did they hit at. Obviously, no one's 100%, but you can clearly see there are some great umps and then there are some really bad umps in the league. So, you know, getting that to 100% would be awesome and just makes for a more fair game. So I'm
Well, what would a bad percentage be?
anything below 90%, I think they highlight as like a bad percentage.
Okay.
Yeah. So if they get over 90% of their calls correct on the strike zone, then it's a good grade. And I've seen some ups up to like 98%. I don't think I've seen anyone at 100%, but you see some pretty interesting numbers there once you do see those report cards. So I don't know, getting those to 100% would be very interesting to see how the league would react, because you can't have batters complain anymore. Like you can't have a batter turn to the ump when it's a robot and say like, "Come on, what is that call? It's clearly just a strike."
The first one of the first things that came up for me was this Rob Drake scorecard from September of 2020. He had 84% overall accuracy, 84% ball accuracy, and 83% strike accuracy.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's what it gives you, and it's
It
crazy.
changes the game. It
It does.
changes the
It
game.
truly changes the game, which it's exciting, man. I think it's better for baseball. So that's just what it is. All right. Any other thoughts for the MLB or anything here? If not, we can move on. Talk about the thriller we had with Kansas and Texas Tech last night.
Yeah, the last thing we'll say there is that uh, the one thing that ESPN did include in their article was that if we don't hear anything by March 1st, then people need to start being scared. But for right now, things are still progressing. Like, they're not really scared of it postponing this season.
Interesting. We'll have to see what happens there. Let's talk about college basketball. Let's talk about the story that Kansas and Texas Tech had. It was back and forth for a lot of the game. We saw a huge second half from both teams. Texas Tech put up 45 points in the second half, which is pretty impressive. Ochai Agbaji, hopefully I got that right, for Kansas was absolutely phenomenal. 37 real life points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists. He looked amazing. Bryson Williams really carrying the team on the Texas Tech side. He had 33 points with 5 rebounds and 1 assist. But it really came down to Kansas being the team that outlasted and kind of probably benefited them that they were at home, because I'm sure that crowd was absolutely electric in person.
Yeah, it was. I watched some of it, and it felt like a March Madness game. That's what it felt like. So
You know,
you'll have a few of these each year, but yeah, I mean, Kansas is a powerhouse this season, and I don't think many teams will be able to beat them down the stretch here.
yeah, I would tend to agree that not many teams will be able to beat them down the stretch. So I'm excited to see what this Kansas team can do. They're 17-2 right now. I don't know where they stand in the standings overall. Do you know where they stand in the AP top 25?
They're number 5. They're 17-2 this year.
Yeah, so going to be interesting to see what college basketball does. Let's talk about the number 1 seed in Auburn. First time in school history that they're number 1, so good for them. What do you think the outlook is for this Auburn team? Do you think they are a team that can contend for a national championship, or do you think this is just a regular season squad?
I think that they have a decent shot in the tournament. They should get a high seed. But I still think that we'll see a few more shakeups in the top 5. I don't think that they're actually going to hold that number 1 seed for very long, even though it's a promising season for them.
Yeah, plus 900 right now to win the NCAA tournament, according to our friends over at
All
BOL.
right.
So there is that. Gonzaga, the favorite over there, plus 500 as of right now. You got the news yesterday that ASU's head coach, Bobby Hurley, fined $20,000 and suspended because of his yelling at the officiating in his loss to Stanford. 2 players off the bench joined him in that yelling. It was a lot, man. It was. I saw this little highlight, and it was. He got pretty fired up there.
He did, and the team, like they were complaining about. I mean, the gasket blew at the end of the game, but they were out. Like the foul disparity was so wild. I believe that Stanford shot like 35 plus free throws, and I believe that the other free throw count was under 10. So whenever you have that, I'm sure it's frustrating as a coach, but like he was on the court in their faces.
Hmm.
I think that they got fined because he was actually physical, and yeah, not a good look there.
Not a good look whatsoever for Arizona State. Um, let's talk about the late night matchup tonight, which is going to be an absolutely amazing game for college basketball. Number 3 Arizona taking on number 7 UCLA. Number 7 UCLA at home for this game. UCLA crowds usually show up, so it should be loud. It should be a lot of fun to watch, and I know that I'm definitely excited to watch it.
Yep, these are the top 2 teams in the Pac-12. Arizona sitting at the 3 seed, 16-1. UCLA 13-2. Right now, Arizona's a 2.5-point favorite. So if you guys, if you don't get enough basketball action after Nets Lakers, this is the game to watch for sure.
This is certainly the game to watch. Make sure to go bet on it as well over at our friends at Bet Online. Bet Online currently has it lined at Arizona being a 3-point favorite and the over/under being at 150. So should be a good one to watch and should be a good one to bet on as well. All right, let's move into NHL Blind Dogs to end off the show here, Jared. And before we move on to Blind Dogs, big shout out to Hockey Mike, legend himself. 1% lineup last night. His overall record this season, I saw it because he posted it in the chat. It's like 45-29. Dude's effing incredible. I mean, that's all there is to it.
Yeah, he really is. Like I'm not shocked whatsoever anymore, but I should. I'm just used to it at this point, which is not. It's a very, very not. I mean, it's a great place for us to be in, but we're spoiled when it comes to that. So, Mike's amazing, and I mean, you pair that with Anthony also having a top 1% morning this morning. It's a good place to be.
It is a great place to be, I would say. Jared, you lost. Did you lose your NHL blind dog yesterday? I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah.
I think I ended up winning my NHL blind dog.
I think you picked the Flyers.
I don't even know what happened yesterday, so let me pull up NHL scores and find out. The Flyers lost 3-1, so I did not win. You did not win. It was a bad day for us overall, but time to bounce back. Remember, this is Blind Dogs for a reason. We don't look at any of these bets beforehand, but we are dedicated to making this an NHL show in some regard. So here we go. NHL Blind Dogs. Jared, take it away with your pick.
Yeah, we got outscored 10-2 yesterday. If we add it all together,
great job.
Not a deal. But guys, if you really want to bet on, don't bet NHL with us right now. Bet the Warriors. Bet the Warriors and Mavericks under 212. We'll still stand by that take. As far as this goes, Tuesday actually a little bit bigger than normal. And we'll go ahead. We'll take the. There's some massive favorites on this slate.
Yeah.
Let's take the Buffalo Sabres plus 156.
Okay, I like it. Buffalo. Well, I mean, I like it. I always say that, and I never know what to say in response to you taking a team. We're gonna take a favorite, but we're gonna take their goal line that way, so it's still plus money. Hurricanes -1.5 is plus 118. I'll take my home team in the Carolina Hurricanes and roll with them.
All right, cool.
We have Bacon asking, can we look at conference NBA bets tomorrow? For sure. We could definitely do that tomorrow. Wednesdays are pretty slow days, so I'm sure we can have time for that. Or he said divisional NBA bets. Yeah, I think we were supposed to do that sometime last week, and I think we missed out on it. So let's plan on doing that tomorrow.
Sounds good. I'll make a note of it. I'm sure, I haven't even checked, but I'm sure that the Bucks versus the Bulls is going to be a very hot topic.
Very hot topic. Going to be a lot of fun.
Oh,
all right.
By the way, I know we got to get out of here, but we failed to mention that James Harden wants out of Brooklyn.
Yeah, so. James Harden saying he's looking somewhere else in the summer. Daryl Morey's eyes lit up when he saw this report and thought maybe of getting him to the 76ers. I think that's, if he ends up anywhere, it's with the 76ers. So should be interesting to see if that deal gets done. But thank you all for hanging out. We greatly appreciate it. Again, shout out to our sponsors over at betonline.ag. And make sure to go sign up with them with the link that Nightbot has posted several times in the chat. You can use that link, put in $50. You get a little sprinkle on top, a little bonus added to it. And, you can either take our NHL Blind Dogs or better yet, take that Warriors bet. I'm telling you, that's a smasher right there. I already know I'm going to go place a big hammer on it once we get off of the show. So, Jared, any final thoughts? And if not, we can get out of here.
No, just thank you for hanging out today, and we'll be back tomorrow morning.
Awesome. Thank you guys for hanging out. As always, my name is Joshua Reimer. Good morning and good skill.